Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first International Women's Day Forum at the Atlantic Council. I'm Adrienne Arsht, Executive Vice Chair of the Atlantic Council, founder of the Adrienne Arsht Latin America Center and the Adrienne Arsht Rockefeller Foundation Resilience Center. It's really a special pleasure to partner with Vital Voices Global Partnership during this year's forum to spotlight the role that women and girls play in addressing our challenges. I have prepared remarks. They do speak to things, our world facing conflict, the progress that we've made, global elections. As we all know, that's what we're about. So as you can tell, I've skipped that. And I'm going to tell you some personal stories. The song that I would have had play at the beginning is Anything Goes by Cole Porter from November 21, 1934. And let me read you some of the lines. In olden days, a glimpse of stocking was looked on as something shocking. But now God knows, anything goes. Well, in 1970, when I was a lawyer working in the legal department of Transworld Airlines, the only place they would hire women except as a stewardess. That was before they were called flight attendants. And women were not allowed to wear pantsuits. And what I am wearing today, and I will go over it briefly, was not allowed anywhere for many, many years. Pantsuits were allowed in 1970, and I wore one to the office. And as this line says, God knows, the lawyer in the office next to me walked in and said, God did not intend women to wear pantsuits. I ended up working, I went to Miami in 1996 to run my bank, and the dress code at my bank allowed pantsuits, but it required stockings. And I think, as I say, a hint of stockings is shocking. So no, I am not wearing stockings. But full disclosure, when I came, I left the requirement to wear stockings because I thought that that was part of the dress demeanor. Later, I'm not sure if a year later or something, I decided that stockings were an accessory, and I moved on. The dress code itself at my bank said no open-toed shoes or slingbacks. Well, if you can see, I have both. And most of my shoes at that point, they were closed toes, but they were slingbacks. So I changed the dress code so that the shoes could be slingbacks. However, the concept of open toe, that was toe cleavage. And I decided to keep that requirement. Little did I know that today you can almost go barefooted. And I'm not objecting to it. Open-toed shoes are fine. In 1997, in Miami, one of the banks did not permit women to wear pantsuits. And so another president of a bank and I invited him to lunch, and both women showed up in pantsuits, and we were seated. And we began to talk to him, why don't you allow pantsuits? And he didn't get very far in the discussion, and the two of us stood up and said, what's wrong with this? They changed the dress code.
Oh, gotta give you a clap for that.
As I say these things, it may sound superficial, but you first have to get in the door. When I first started in business, the designation Ms. was not permitted anywhere. The New York Times would not use the word Ms. And some of us kept it, and now, of course, it's accepted. On the other hand, when I moved to Miami and became chairman of the bank, I kept the word chairman. My younger female colleagues were quite upset, and they said, "Your chair." Well, to me, a chair was that. I kept chairman. Even when I did, the newspapers always called me chairwoman. So you pick the hill you want to die on. I died for Ms., and I let others die for chair. So I tell you these stories. These are the outward-facing things that we deal with. I'll be very brief on one other story about cell phones. They started as small, and I started one talk by saying cell phones are not user-friendly to women. And the men in the audience audibly groaned. I mean, how can you make a cell phone an issue of gender? And so I said back in the day, well, all right, who's wearing a cell phone? Guys, where is it? They were all hooked on your belt. I said, women don't have belts. We tried to hook some of the mics. You've all been in that experience. There's no place. Okay, you put it in your pants pocket. Well, if you're wearing pants or a pantsuit, so often with women, we don't have pockets. Okay, last thing, you put it in your breast pocket. At which point I said, I have a breast already. At least it got the men off their high horse. But the point was, at that time, a cell phone, if you turned off the ringer and it was only vibrate, if it's in a pocket, on your belt, in a pocket, you can still know that you're being called. You get a call from your boss, and where is your cell phone? Well, I used to say, it's in my pocketbook. And when my pocketbook starts bouncing along, that's when I know I'm getting a phone call. So these were the old things, the outward facing, but it got all of us in the room at the table. And now I'm going to leave it to all of you to do what we all do best, being at the table. And so I appreciate your letting me tell some personal stories. I will be able to stay here for this wonderful panel, but then I'm headed to the State Department for Women's History Month, at which point the ambassador of Panama is hosting a discussion by Mariangela Zappia. She is the ambassador from Italy. Evan Ryan, she is the White House Cabinet Secretary. And Aurélie Saint-Georges, the Deputy Director of the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute. Full disclosure, I did fund global research on resilience, and she is leading it. So I go to celebrate the accomplishments of women, and I ask you all to pick the hill you want to die on. Remember that there are others who can take that hill if you don't. And so with that, I will turn it over to Elise Nelson, the President and CEO of Vital Voices Global Partnership, to kick it off.